Yo, what is up, everybody? It is I, Corey, Jagon, Marco, back with another episode of the Dodcast. However, this one is a little bit different. It is Season 5, Episode 10, but it's really more like 9.5 because we left out the first round of KTP Gold playoffs from Episode 9 so that we could do it now. I am, unfortunately, clearly running a little bit late when it comes to doing this. We had a travel day yesterday and got back very late, so I am now doing it on Saturday, the day before one match and the day of another match. So this is coming out with minutes to spare at this point. I'm going to try to keep it as brief and quick and to the point as I possibly can. We've only got two matches to go over. They're best of threes. We've got the maps. We don't quite have the lineups. One team with a little bit of a variation on their lineup all the time, so going to be a little difficult to know for sure what they're bringing to the table here. But we're going to do our best with the information we've got. I even made a little, as you can see over there, I did a little thing just to make it a little bit more official, a little bit something something. I'm sure that somebody will laugh at me for not putting it in a Google Doc on an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm sure that Jules will be laughing at me, and J-Rod, and Dorito, and Tox. Everybody will be laughing at me because this is a notepad instead of an Excel sheet. This is how Yagoon does things. So, obviously, one of these matches is my own match. We'll get into that one first because it's also being played tonight at what time? I think 8:30 was it, something like that. Let me double check. It's either 8 or 8:30. 8:30. Okay, so we're gonna get into that one first, and then we'll get into Over versus Gray Hair Mafia, which is scheduled for tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. As you can see here, lineups, we got for sure that lineup, this lineup a little bit less sure, and then these lineups like 98% sure. Clinic has been pretty reliable when it comes to who they're playing as their sixth. So, right off the bat here, Thunder versus Clinic. You've got the number 3 seed in Thunder, the number 6 seed in Clinic, 4 and 4 versus 1 and 7. The maps in order: Railroad 2, Harrington, Lennon. There is a little bit of history on Railroad maps, at least we've played each other. We've never played each other on Harrington or Lennon. Clinic historically has been quite good on Harrington. Which is, I mean, that's why it's their pick, right? I can even remember just off the top of my head the first season's finals match in Silver they won, and a couple other wins as well along the way. But yeah, like when it comes to history versus each other, there's really only Railroad 2, which, let me double check that. I believe it was season 4 that we played each other on Railroad 2. Or maybe we played each other on Rail Yard. I'm going to double check here. Rail Yard B2, yes, we played Clinic there, but what about Railroad 2 Test? Clinic Thunder, okay, so yeah, we won on Railroad 2, 279 to 23 in Season 4. We may have played each other in a playoff match in another season on Railroad 2, but more importantly, looking at it just in this season specifically, Clinic, as you can see here, big win over Gray Hair Mafia, who had just taken out Bandits. Sam had an insane game that week. I'm going to try to pull up the screenshots here. Just got to scroll up a wee bit. Give me that. No, that is Thunder 2. Anzio, Harrington. So we got to go just back down a wee bit more. Oh my god, I scrolled way too far. Harrington. There we go. Railroad 2. Alright. So, the big story for Clinic on Railroad 2. Candyman, 40 and 24 on Axis, and 34 kills on Allies. Carpenter had 38 on Allies, 35 for Tom with the bar. Really, really strong game all around from Clinic on this map. Historically, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, these guys are all big-time fraggers, and Sam, as a third rifle, as we're going to take a look at here. So, for the lineups, I laid it out with the KTP rating, like, if there was a ranking in the top 20 of the overall, I put that in, and then tried to do it by classes. In some cases, people are playing, like, a bunch of different classes, so it's a little tougher to tell. But, for Thunder, on the Sniper, Yagoon. 1.08 KTP rating, 1.2 kill to death ratio, number 13 overall, number 4 as a sniper. On the rifles, Toxinator 1.24 and 1.32, number 3 overall. And this is, I'm trying to have it be qualified as at least half the matches played, right? So 4 or more matches, preferably. Because I think there's a couple guys in the top, like 10 or something, that only have like 2 or 3 matches played. So he's number 3 overall, number 1 as a rifle. Dorito 105 and 103, number 17 overall, the number 4 rifle. J-Rod 0.98 and 0.9, the number 2 third rifle, which that is another big story in this game. J-Rod, the number 3 third or number 2 third rifle versus Candyman, the number 1 third rifle in gold. I think that's both those guys are going to be major players in this series. On the heavies, Ryan Emo 124 and 129 only has 3 matches played, so I looked up any season I could find where he had played at least half the matches. Season 3, he was the number 3 heavy with a 1.11 and a 124 with 7 matches played. And then Jules, he is number 2 overall in the stats this season, number 1 heavy, 1.24, 1.32. Jules, best season statistically so far. Obviously everyone looks at him as one of those top 5 players overall, a top 2 or 3 heavy. This season statistically backs that up entirely. That is a crazy KD ratio as well. Him and Tox with the same rating and same KD ratio there. Jules just actually played, I believe, 1 extra match, if I recall correctly. Let me pull up the stats to see. Jules with 8 matches, Tox with 7. Yeah, so that is the tiebreaker there. And then, moving on to the clinic guys. We got Carpenter here. I forgot a parentheses. He's at 0.96, 0.96, but do not let that fool you. That is completely irrelevant. Carpenter is a top 4 sniper in DoD, period. The guy is nuts. Really, looking at these stats, it's all very deceiving. These guys are ridiculously good players. We can attest to that probably better than anybody because for a long time, Anzio was considered our best map. Certainly to all of us, we felt unbeatable on Anzio. We play against these guys, they just lay the dick down on us and take us out on a map that we thought we would never lose on, right? So, Suave at a 0.83, 0.72, Insom 0.9 and 0.8. There's Sam 101 and 0.96, the number 1 rated third rifle in gold. Getting that kind of production out of a third rifle spot is really, really something. You don't expect that. A third rifle is generally like a super support player, right? You just want good nades. You want to go as close to even as possible. They're going tough routes. Sam getting 80 kills going train car, insane, right? And then on the heavies, Vic at a 0.97 and a 0.9, and Tom 0.8 and 0.78. I really like the way they play together. I talk about it all the time. There's a couple maps in particular where the way that they play with each other and off of one another, I think other heavies could really learn from. And Tom is not a natural heavy. Tom can play every other class twice as well as he can as a heavy. He's just been stuck heavying because Clinic has a lot of rifles/snipers. So I've been very impressed with the way that they play together, especially on a map like Thunder. They always do really, really cool and interesting things playing off of one another to control, especially on Axis side of Bunker, which is very difficult to do to get value out of the heavies going straight through Bunker like they do. It is very much something that you don't see happen a lot on that map, and they are able to do it very, very well together. Railroad 2 Axis side is another one where they play off of each other very well. You might see Tom take a Stas sometimes if Sam jumps on an Unter on Axis side. These guys all can do anything. If you give them a gun with bullets and a crosshair, they can shoot you with it. Their mechanics are out of this world. So, getting into each team's individual seasons on the 3 maps. Railroad 2, which is Thunder's pick, win over 356 to 76. Railroad 2 for Clinic, a win over Grey Hair Mafia, 231 to 216. On Harrington, we lost to Chilled, 306 to 269. Clinic lost to Over, 408 to 272. And then on Lennon, we beat Grey Hair Mafia 520 to 290, and Clinic lost to Bandit 605 to 116. As I said, historically, facing against each other in particular, Railroad 2 is the only map that we've had matches against each other on. Well, Rail Yard as well, but I'm just kind of lumping the Railroad maps together, even though they don't really play that directly similar anymore. It is different enough now. So there's not a lot of history to go over between the two teams playing against each other on any of these maps. Looking at Railroad 2, though, right? Thunder's pick. Thunder always been a team that feels comfortable on railroad maps. Not a lot of losses on railroad across the whatever, like 2007, so 17 years that we've played. Like I know that from the time we formed, like with this roster of me, Tox, and Ryan, and like Hudson and those guys. There's not a lot of them left still, but me, Tox, and Ryan, the main core three, we went. It was something like 6 years without losing on Railroad 2. It was our map pick for that time. Like when it was Cali playoff and finals, if we had to pick a map, it was Railroad 2. Land finals and playoffs, it was Railroad 2. On the flip side, Harrington was our map of curse, right? Like, we are very cursed on Harrington. Just look at this game here, Chilled versus Thunder. We were up by, I think it was like 3 caps with 5 minutes to play. And PDX, PB, Hildy, Chi, these guys just went fucking insane on us. Ben, insane, going long. They were just all over our shit in that last 5 minutes and just laid the smackdown on us, man. They capped out. I think they needed to cap out 4 times or something. Or maybe it was we were up by 2 caps. They needed to cap out 3 times in 5 minutes. They just immediately laid it all over us for the last few minutes of that game. And ended up winning with a cap in the last like 30 seconds. And this is not a new experience for Thunder. I mean, we lost. So in Cali playoffs, the first season we were together, we lost on Harrington. And then we ended up winning the overall series, but our loss in that series was on Harrington. And then go to the LAN we went to with this roster. Well, not this exact roster, but me, Tox, and Ryan. We get to the finals. We have to play, we're in the upper brackets. We play Harrington first. We lose to UKZ, but we win the series on Railroad 2. So there you go. There's another one. Follow that up, a TPG final. Thunder versus IWA. We're winning for 95% of that match. What happens? We get capped on as time expires by Swiss on our allied side. We lose as time expires. And there's more. It's a laundry list of heartbreaking losses on Harrington for Thunder. To me, this was like the absolute best pick that Clinic could have made. Thunder, just as a team, they find a way to lose on Harrington. Like this is a known fact. We will go out and win our Axis half and lose our Allied half by however much we need to lose by. We'll find a way. But for Railroad 2, of course, like you're going to look at it as the teams that pick the map, they pick the map for a reason. They're going to feel comfortable on it. You're going to take that team to have the best chance of winning. You take Thunder and Railroad 2, but there are obvious ways for Clinic back into that game. If you get a performance out of Sam coming out of Train with, he doesn't have to get 80 kills. Give him 60 kills total. That is massive. If you're cutting off those spawn exits, both the 4-way spawn when Thunder's on Axis and the second flag spawn when Thunder's on Allies, that's half the team basically going that route, right? If when Clinic is on Allies, cutting off the 4-way spawn, you're taking out Toxinator and Ryan Emo. I mean, that is, you're getting those guys out of the game over and over again as Candyman, making them feel uncomfortable. You're going to throw things into disrepair, right? So that is a big, big part, I think, for Clinic on Railroad 2 is Sam and Train. And then the other thing, apartments. Very much like Lennon, Railroad 2, a lot revolves around apartments control. On Axis side, it's usually like a rifle and a heavy, and then obviously the sniper in the loft. Allies, it's usually 2 bars, and then your Garand who's going long will slot in there from time to time, or most of the time. That's going to be a big key again for Clinic. If they can get apartments control on Axis and really make Jules and Ryan Emo uncomfortable with the bars, you can't let them just be like running up balcony over and over again, getting out Dark Hall, getting into Sniper Hole, and just like shooting into your spawn over and over, right? You got to let Carpenter be able to get comfortable in Loft. Obviously as a sniper you can go 4-way, you can go underpass, but you want to be in that loft with protection where you're not going to be free to get naded from nowhere anytime, right? Or just like a stray nade. You got to keep Carpenter comfortable in loft to be able to battle against me. And then you want to keep those bars away from that balcony area, whatever you got to do. Good nades from long, like these guys throw good nades. This is not a news flash to them. But I think that those are the two cruxes for Clinic ways back into the game. I expect frag-wise they will all be on point. They almost always are, right? That is their big strength, is just like their raw mechanical frag power and their team play. They've been playing together as long as Thunder has in KTP now. Two teams that have been together since day one. You can kind of look at like Romario as well over. Like there's a lot of roster turnover. Romario like combined with heavyweight sleepers and heavyweight stuff like that. There are other teams that have been mostly together, but Clinic and Thunder are the two teams that were there in season one, and like over half their roster has remained until now. So those are the strengths for Clinic, right? On a map like Railroad 2, if you get a bunch of big performances just frag-wise, that alone can tip the scales. But in particular, I think if Sam can put up a big game going train, make those guys uncomfortable on the train side, on the four-way side, that would be majorly helpful. And then especially apartments. You gotta let Carp get comfortable in the Axis loft, and you gotta keep Jules and Ryan from feeling like they can just like kind of run up apartments and do whatever they want, running around with bars. Because I mean, anyone knows what it's like when you're barring apartments and you're having a good day and you feel like you can just kind of run through. I mean, you're just running straight to spawn over and over again, right? You're just spraying down multiple people at a time. That is where I think the match can turn in either direction for Clinic. For Thunder, it comes down to communication. You can't. I think that that's something that gets lost in the shuffle a lot. Good communication for any team, let alone a team that's been together forever like this. It can kind of get lost in the shuffle because you're just so used to playing with each other. At times, it's like you just expect each other to know. You need good communication on a map like Railroad 2. The flanks are endless. You can bypass flags all over the place to shoot people in the back. You can get up into lofts to break mid, stuff like that. That's super important. And then, again, apartments. You need the bars. You need the Axis apartments team, which is like Dorito and Jules. Those apartment side of things are really the big X factor in a Railroad 2 match at all times. You can get all the value you want from other sides of the map, but if your heavies aren't in apartments controlling it, making people uncomfortable on their half of the map, it probably isn't going to amount to much besides a nice juicy KD ratio for those players everywhere else. So I think that's the big key here. You got to just take Thunder. It's their map pick, right? But there's a million ways for Clinic to take this thing and make it very dicey for Thunder. On Harrington, kind of the reverse, right? Harrington, as I alluded to earlier, very cursed map for Thunder, and a map that Clinic thrives on. This map favors Clinic's like just style of play a lot, taking long-range aim battles, good rotations, good teamwork. This is a map that is tailor-made for a team like Clinic, a team like Thunder, right? Problem is, Thunder doesn't seem to know how to play it all that consistently well. Certainly, in at least the last few Harrington matches, Thunder is usually missing somebody. I know to start the season, we didn't have Tox or Ryan, right, in that first game of the season, so that makes a big difference. You're putting everybody back on the class they're familiar with, on the route they're familiar with. But it hasn't generally mattered all that much whether Thunder has their best six or not. Harrington, for whatever reason, we have always done this. Axis side, we play super well. We manage to limit the cap outs. Damage control is good. Keeping it within like 2 caps, you feel great about your Axis half. Or even winning. That's happened many times where we've won our Axis side of Harrington and then lost the match, which is just unheard of for most teams. I don't know what it is with us on this map. But that's the real key here, I think, for Thunder, is Allied side. Axis side, I think everything will generally... It won't get bleeding out of control most of the time. Like, as a team, we're pretty good at not over-rotating and not over-pushing and not getting out of position too often, which is usually what leads to as much of a successful Axis side as you can hope for on Harrington in an even matchup like this. Obviously there's times where the matchup's just really uneven and it gets out of hand either half, right? This is not that case. Thunder has to be minding their P's and Q's on Allied side. Because over-rotation on allies, very common. Players start to try to do too much for their team. Like, you got a long player who's running over to mid, but they haven't mistimed. The nade doesn't end up getting any kills anyways. And now the opposing long player has pushed up long and just killed the spawn wave behind you, and you're stuck in a shitty choke point and upper connector with everybody looking at your fucking face through a little window, right? Also, again, the bars, right? Obviously this is not the mountain route is not as much of an importance area as it is like Ladder Apartments or Railroad 2 Apartments, but ladder. If the bars aren't getting up and at least keeping ladder a 50-50 kind of game, then you're going to see a car slotting over to mountain for clinic and being able to cause some hell in mid, pick the sniper, get Toxinator out of there, etc., etc. And nades. Nades are big. This map is so nade happy, right? Just look at the kind of impact Brino, PDX, can have on this map because he can throw every nade from anywhere and break mid on a moment's notice, drop of a hat. This is something that Thunder needs to be more reliable at, just like missed timings on grenades, just by a split second, right? A little bit over primed, a little bit under primed, a split second too late, a split second too early. You just need to have that steady stream of grenades going into mid when you don't have control of it. Again, communication and rotating around, things like that. That's the way Thunder can win on Harrington here, is by Allied side getting shit locked down. Axis side, I think, generally speaking, we have one of the better Axis side halves on Harrington. It's Allied side that we fall apart. And Allied side should be more of a game of who can cap more, whereas for us it's like, oh shit, like we capped out twice, but now we're giving up 3 cap outs. I don't expect Clinic to have these problems at all. I think that their Allied side will be very strong. For them, it'll be kind of the inverse, where it's damage control on Axis and then finding moments to get pushed. Because Thunder will give you those chances. They will overpush. They will send that extra guy forward that really shouldn't be going there to try to get that cap out. And then when that guy dies, there's no one left to try to defend, the lanes that are going towards the last flag, things like that. Clinic are very good at these opportunistic multi-kill situations, so just getting into those scenarios will be enough for them to be able to really lock shit down on their Axis side and potentially be able to win an Axis half. And if they can win the Axis half, that's it. Game. I see no way that Thunder goes out, loses on their Allied side, and then can manage to pull it back on the Axis half. Just no way. So that half is going to be, I think, the most important one, right? When Thunder is Allies and Clinic is Axis. I think you kind of know what to expect score-wise when it's the other half. That's the variable, is when it comes down to that Thunder Allies Clinic Axis side. Of course, heavies, big thing. Just the mountainside in general, whether you're sending both heavies that route or not. Certainly on Axis side, you'll see cars go that way a lot. I'm not sure who it would be for Clinic. Probably Insom, kind of like mountain to mid guy, right? Maybe even Suave. I could even see them going like Insom straight mid and Suave up mountain to mid, which is always a good call if you've got a car that's comfortable doing it. But that's going to be real important, is that ladder area again, getting the nades over top of that mountain slab L-hull thing there to break mid, and then mid-house control always. You got the sniper battle of Carp versus me, 2 guys who generally put up good numbers on both halves, right? Axis side sniping is tough. I think a lot of times the snipers that are more successful on Axis are the guys who are more comfortable getting into those straightforward, running out at each other kind of battles, no scopes, pistols, stuff like that, which both Carp and myself, enjoy. We're movie guys. We want to hit those no scopes. Hmm? I love Carpenter, yeah. She's calling me out over there. I love Carpenter. He's my kind of guy. And especially the way he plays DOD. I mean, he plays just like I do. He's just better at it now than I am. But I think that battle in mid, between me, Carp, and then Tox, Insom, Suave, Dorito, all the rifles and sniper kind of converging on mid is going to be just absolute nonsense back and forth. I can tell you from having, in the draft that we won, playing with Carp, where I was rifling mid and he was sniping, the guy can just go off and get 80 kills with ease to where, it doesn't matter what anyone else does. And that's the kind of performance that could really, take things out of hand and make Thunder have no way back into the game. But yeah, the mountain ladder mid, this area. Long, obviously, nowadays, it's a little bit left out. It's kind of like the odd man out when it comes to the routes on Harrington, but teams can take advantage of that. I feel like I don't see that happen enough, where you get into a dicey situation. If you know the other team is just sending one guy long, fucking flood that way, send some guys that way. You can still nade over from Axis side long to mid. You can still do damage on the other route. If you're in a dicey situation back against the wall and you have control of that area, why not? Like, leave two guys back to sit there and watch for the mid flank to push up behind for the flag. Let the other guys push up through apps and down the main road. Make it dirty, make it messy. Force them to have to get 4 kills at their own second flag to be able to break through that shit. I feel like teams don't do that enough. They kind of, because long used to be that 2v2 route. Once upon a time, snipers and heavies were going that way too, way back in the day. Now it's like most of the time it's 1v1. It's kind of a game of hide and go seek. You'll have a second guy on allies that kind of goes back and forth between long and mid, but that's something you can take advantage of. Anybody is capable of taking advantage of that at any time. It doesn't have to be we're sending 2 guys long, we're sending 3 guys long, period. But just picking a spot where it's like, we can't get into mid, and, one of our rifles just killed the other guy long and has their 2. Why keep running to the top of mid steps, into nades, into insane little pixel angles of a Garand peeking his little head up over white steps, like you see a lot of the best Garands do that in mid? Like, you can't even fucking see that shit with a scope. Why bother running into that meat grinder over and over again? Fucking flood some guys through long. That obviously, again, like I'm saying, if a team chooses to do that, that can be a big difference maker in either direction. Like, you could do that and then just all die and get capped on, and it turns out to have been a terrible idea. But if it works, I've seen it work to where then that team turns it into a reverse cap back around the other way. Chill did it against us, I know, in week 1, where we kind of had them ass against the wall on there too, could not push for that cap out. And that's actually another big thing, is finishing cap outs. Because there is a very fine line, right? And the best teams like the NSA, T3, they were so good, Icy Hot as well, at finishing their cap outs, but also understanding when to stop. You don't have to just send all 6 guys through that. There's a time and a place for that, right? But if you still got fucking 10 minutes left in the half and you only need 1 or 2 cap outs, don't risk giving a cap out back up in the other direction because you send those last 2 guys out to their death. Watching Icy Hot versus T3 and NSA on Harrington in particular was always very fun. T3 always had a really good kind of like rope-a-dope strategy on their Axis side where it was like, come on, come push cap out. Like, we're down to our last flag, right? Come on. And then everybody would go running in there and just get fucking team wiped. PDX would get 3 nade kills, and suddenly it was like, it goes from, oh, all we need is Mountain House to, oh my god, we just got capped on. And that's, I think, a little bit of a lost start in this season that I've seen in the Harrington matches I did, where a lot of it, like once teams had the chance to cap out, most of the time it was like a spawn wave or 2, and then they were finding their way back in. Generally speaking, I think teams now are pretty good, though, at understanding, like, hey, we're down to our last flag. At least 5 guys should be spawning to that last flag. Certainly, if you can send another guy over to the other route that you don't have, but there's no reason to have people just keep going out to their routes, like, 3 people here and 3 people there, when you're down to your last flag. You need to flood that shit because you never know when that one extra body might have been the difference between you getting capped on and you being able to turn things back around because it came down to a 1v1 on that flag. But yeah, for this one, you gotta favor Clinic. Thunder is cursed on this map. We've lost a million. Like, if you go back over history, I think the map that we've lost on most in the, 500 matches we've played over time, it would be Harrington. I could say that pretty confidently, to be honest. Like, just thinking about playoff matches that we lost over the years, combined with the matches we've played in KTP now, Harrington, I think Clinic is strong enough on to be able to solve the puzzle of Thunder on their Axis side, and then, be able to hold out enough, not give up too many caps. That's the big problem for Thunder, especially on Allied side, is if they don't get the cap outs that they feel they're entitled to, things start to go south. I don't know if it's a tilting thing, or if it's just like the untimely one extra guy pushes too much and dies, and then it turns around on us, but that seems to be the way it goes. Like, we don't just lose mid off an initial and then get capped on. It's usually like, 50-50 battle in mid, back and forth, we get mid, we get long, and then we just can't seem to break through on that last flag, and then after a couple spawn waves of it, suddenly more and more people are going straight through Mountain, and that's opened up a lane on the other side of the map, and now there's 4 guys running straight Mountain, right? Which is never a good idea, because it's such a nade fest over there. Little things like that are the kind of mistakes that could lose Harrington just that quick tonight for Thunder. And then third map, Lennon, of course, if necessary. This is a map that for Clinic, I don't know how much they like Lennon. I don't think they're super fond of it. Certainly, Vic and Tom in Apartments are a very, very good heavy duo on this map. They understand how to play it. Even for Tom, who's not a heavy, but he has been stuck heavying for like 4 seasons now. But like I think with the all the rifles and the sniper here, I mean, and trust me, I understand this better than anyone. This is a map where your long team, the sniper, and usually the third rifle, it's just not fun. There's just nothing you can do. You can kill each other, right? But then there's nades flying out of a giant window with a favorable angle for the other guys up in there. You get pushed up on the allied side. You go to long steps, you go to L Hull, nade, 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 nade. You get pushed up on Axis side, you get to back cave, nade. You get to swing door, nade. There's nowhere to go. I love the new Lennon. The one thing about it that I don't like is that long route push up end game. Because I mean we've seen it a million times in season like 1 and 2. No name pushing up long steps and just killing spawn wave after spawn wave. That's just not really an option anymore now. Most of the time, Axis players, when that situation arises, they're just pre-nading it, right? Like they're not even taking the chance. You're just dying to nades, or you're taking 98 damage to a nade, and then you die to Nick Patton's pistol, but he hits you in the head from across the map just for good measure. And then Axis side, that bird cage, when you get pushed up as Axis to swing door, the Jag-on spot, yeah, not anymore, because that angle out of the birdcage is so broken for the allied side now. All you can see from swing door is like the top right corner of their helmet, but they're seeing your entire body, and good luck, you hit them through that corner, it's not going to kill them anyway. So 90% of the time you get up to that spot, you maybe can get 2. If you're Nicholson, you get 3 with 1 bullet, right? But most of the time, a good team, their sniper is going straight to that bird cage, holding that sliver peek into upper wraps, and a sniper is slow peeking directly into that scope. So, which is like I'm talking about how Clinic, like the rifle and sniper maybe don't like it for them. I don't fucking like it either. I hate it. If I was playing any other class, love Lennon, but sniping, I just feel like I'm not doing anything. I feel like a successful half is like 17 and 12, which bores me to no end. Certainly for Lennon, though, apartments. We just talked about this last week or whatever. Apartments. For Clinic to win, they have to lock down apartments. They cannot let Jules and Ryan Emo just go running all over the place, which Jules and Ryan Emo are pretty well known for on Lennon, right? Easier said than done for anybody. And then in Well, I think Well is a really, really nice battle of skill there between, Tox, Dorito on one side, and then Insom and either Sam or Scott. I know that last week Scott went long and Sam went well, so it depends on what they do there. I think that's a fun battle over there. A lot of the times with Well, though, like when your team has lost both the double caps, you won't continuously see a second guy going there, right? So you'll see one of the players maybe slot over to apartments on Axis side, or maybe try to flood out long on Allied side to be able to gain control of a double cap, help mid, stuff like that. So like Well, in that regard nowadays, because teams have gotten way smarter over the years about their rotations and like where they're sending their resources and everything. It used to be just like a steady stream of 2v2, and then like you get out of connector, there's a guy sitting at swing door or back cave, or if you're getting out blue room and underpass, there's a spawn. Nowadays it can be a little bit hit or miss with that when a team gets control of the whole map besides the last flag. So like you might see both sides, the cars especially going up through apartments to try to help out those heavies, even things up against the bars. I think that's always a smart move. Both Dorito and Tox are good at understanding when to do that. And then on the Allied side for the Garans, there's not as many good avenues to kind of like playing support when you've lost Well and are just trying to hold out. You can go help out in apartments, try to jump out long, get that quick long cap off, but it's a little bit of a coin flip, right? You never know what you might run into if you don't have control even up to big window, or especially in back cave. There's so many corners you might have to deal with down there. So it can be a little dicey to be a Well player and go off on an excursion somewhere else in that case. I think for Lennon, it really, like, long is going to be just 50-50. Me and Carp, J-Rod and Suave, or J-Rod and Candy. If it's J-Rod and Candy, that's fun. Again, a 1v2 of the rank in third rifles this season head to head. I'm not sure if we'll see that on any of these other maps particularly. I don't think so. Yeah, no, I don't think so off the top of my head. I don't think they go the same routes on any of the other ones, but maybe Harrington Long. But yeah, for Lennon, hypothetically, you might be able to see that third rifle heavyweight battle there. Apartments is the big key here. But obviously the heavies mainly, but also the rest of the team rotating through, even Carp on Allied side especially, being there in upper apartments, picking off some of the, well, whether it's heavies or a car rotating over there. And then, of course, on Axis side, picking into the apartments, thinning those numbers out of the bars. That right there can be like the greatest strength you have on the Axis side apartments team is if your sniper is able to consistently hit that shot on the bars trying to get into upper apps. It's not as easy as it used to be. The way the angles worked out in the recent Lennon updates, it made it a little bit less favorable for the Axis sniper, which is another reason why sniping has gotten so boring. But yeah, that I think is the big key for Clinic there. I think Well will be enough of a coin flip. Could go either way. It won't take much for either side to have the scales tilt in the other direction. It really comes down to apartments. The extremity routes are going to be back and forth, give and take. It's going to come down to the heavies. Obviously Ryan Emo and Jules is a ridiculous heavy team. I think Vic and Tom are smart enough to figure out a strategy to be able to get them off their rhythm. And make them feel less comfortable on what is their favorite map, right? Most heavies' favorite map, Lennon. So that's going to be the key, right? Just that apartments battle, as always on Lennon. Everything is made or broken in that area, regardless of what goes on elsewhere. You can have Well just completely locked down and making the opposing Well team go 0-20 each, but if you don't have apartments control, you're getting shot in the back over and over again. You're getting naded in blue room. You're getting naded at swing door. They're crouched and spiraled. All this shit. Like, that is so important on Lennon. That's what it's going to come down to here. That's the big battle. If it gets to the map 3, Clinic needs to have a good idea on how to keep Ryan and Jules from running wild all over Lennon. I think that they are plenty even on the two extremity routes to be able to make up a difference of any amount there. But in apartments, they got to keep those heavies locked down. And if they can do that, I think that the dominoes just come toppling down from there, and that's the way that they can win that game for sure. So yeah, good luck, have fun to Clinic. I always love getting to snipe against Carpenter and play against these guys. Like, they're all just such awesome dudes. Usually when Carpenter and I snipe against each other, it's like movie clip city for both of us, just hitting crazy shots back and forth and walling each other. Certainly Railroad 2 especially makes for that heads up, and Harrington heads up sniper battle where, like if you kill each other, you might have a couple other kills you can grab there, which is always fun. It feels like it makes a movie clip that much more legit. Like if I've killed Carp in that clip, right? When you have that head-to-head sniper matchup and you come out on top and then can get a couple other kills as a sniper, that's like peak movie clip, right? So I expect that we will see quite a bit of that from both of us tonight, just like trying to go for crazy shots, and hopefully I'll be hitting them sometimes, but I'm sure Carp will plenty. Yeah, I think that's going to be a very, very fun series. Tonight at 8:30, Blender's doing the cast. God, I'm already like going way over time here. 38 minutes I've spent on this. Jesus fuck. Hopefully I can keep the time similar for this other series now. But yeah, everybody watch Blender tonight. I think that's going to be a fun series all around. Both teams generally play like a pretty smash mouth play style of just kind of like fragging out and seeing who hits the most shots. Okay, so on to the other part of the bracket here. Number 4 Over versus number 5 Gray Hair Mafia. 4-4 versus 3-5. The maps are Lennon, Harrington, Anzio. So I guess it would be Over picked Lennon, Gray Hair Mafia, Harrington, Anzio left over. Head to head, as we can see, they did play against each other on Anzio, which Over won 518 to 378. So that's the one head-to-head matchup we've got between them when it comes to their season on these maps. So Over on Lennon, we actually just casted this game 536 to 296. Chilled beat Over. But I liked what I saw at Over. They were missing Nick Patton for that game, which I think makes a big difference, right? I think that is enough of a swing back in the other direction, because obviously he's going long on Lennon, right? But Nick, when you're down to your last flag, is like the most valuable player. Like I mean, I've had it happen to Thunder too many times to not be able to give that props. He's very good, especially on Axis, which is tough, at defending the last flag, taking out at least 2 guys at a time, usually more, and making things easier for the guys without the scope. So yeah, I think that would be why Overs picked it. They're generally comfortable on the map, and having Nick Patton there is a big X factor. For Gray Hair Mafia, lost to Thunder just this last week, 520 to 290. The lineup is obviously very different in this case for Gray Hair Mafia. I should probably get into that first, right? I'll do that after. I'll keep going in this order. Harrington-wise, so over, beats Clinic 408 to 272. And then for Gray Hair Mafia, they beat Bandits in week 1, which was a massive win. I mean, that win, at the time, anybody who understood what that Bandits team was made of knew how massive a win that was. But obviously, that aged like a fine wine. Bandits doesn't lose another game for the rest of the season. That right there just shows how good Gray Hair Mafia can be at any time on any map. That makes it very scary for teams to have to deal with. Huh? Who? Oh, oh God. All right, so for the lineups, obviously, I alluded to this. Gray Hair Mafia missing a couple guys here. On the plus side, they got some pretty good players to fill in, right? So starting off on the sniper, Pibian, who's just a god. As we can see, 1.09 KTP rating, 115 KD, the number 3 sniper in gold, the number 13 player overall. Every time that I've played against him, the guy just hits the absolute insane shots on me nonstop. I look forward to seeing like what ends up in Mutiny of Pibian, because I'm sure, I mean, we've casted obviously a couple of barn burner clips that Pibian has, but he's also gotten them against us, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt. On Lennon, he got a couple. On Thunder earlier in the season, I know he had a fucking insane shot on me that was a part of a multi-kill, like 4 or 5 kills. Just, the guy is insane. Pibian, even as that number 3 sniper, that's selling him short, to be honest. Like, he is, to me, this season has been, I mean, I haven't got to snipe against Nick yet, but obviously I've sniped against Nick 1,000 times. I feel like those 2 guys right there this season just, they are the sniper gods. There's no Nightmare anymore. Pibian is taken over in that other top 2 or 3 spot there. Then on the rifles, great rifle team here. Sean, a 108 and .97, number 15 overall. Jesse, 104 and .97, number 18 overall. And then Corey Price, he's a 10 and a .98, but he's only played 2 matches, so I went back, looked at what he's been doing in seasons past. Season 2, he was a 125. Season 3, a 118. Season 4, a 108 with 3 matches played. So, like, when he plays, Corey Price is generally one of the strongest rifles in the game. On the heavy side of things, so no Riv, no Pro Star, right? So Tony going to be back on his natural class, I'm assuming, right? They didn't tell me what classes everyone was going to play, so I could be totally wrong. You could see Jesse on a heavy with Tony, you could see Jesse on a heavy with William, or you could see this with Tony and Sick on the heavies. That's what I'm assuming. So for Tony, he has been 30 most of the season on a Tommy Unter. Back on the heavy now, 0.75, 0.65, and then Sick, great ringer to be bringing in here, of course, a 113, 1.22, the number 9 overall player in KTP this season. I couldn't really go through and say he's this class because he started off heavying, but now he's been rifling. He's been kind of back and forth. He's been more split between rifle and heavy overall. So a really nice looking lineup there. Numerous top 20 players. Obviously, Pibian, always one of their big key players on any given map, but especially sniper favorable maps. And Sick as a ringer, great guy to get in there. Not just because he's going to frag, but for the mind that he brings to the game. But on the over side of things, I mean, we got Pibian, we got Slick Nick Patton here. So this season, it's a little bit irrelevant. 2 matches played, he's a 1-1-1 and a 1-2-4. But of course, I'm a stats guy. I went back and looked. In Season 2, He was a 1.12 and 122. That was good for number 4 ranked sniper. Season 3, a 110 and 126. That was good for number 2. And then Season 4, last season, a 1.17 KTPR, 130 KD ratio, which is insane. And he was the number 1 ranked sniper last season, unsurprisingly, on that fucking insane NSA team that was just kind of playing with their food all season long, untouchable. And Nick Patton was one of the key cogs in that machine on the heavies. So with over, the lineup is not totally clear, right? You could see a heavy team of Caffrey and SC. You could see a heavy team of Caffrey and Devin. You could see a heavy team of Caffrey and Mata. You could see a heavy team of Caffrey and Kumkum. I'm just speculating in what they generally have done this season. Sokka hasn't played all that much. When he does play, he plays well. Same with SC. You know, last week on Lennon, SC and Caffrey looked great together in that matchup against a very tough chill team with Bees and Chi running wild. But in my speculatory lineup for over here, you've got Caffrey, who's at a 102 for both, number 19 overall, number 4 heavy. And then for Devin, a 119, 1.25, number 5 player in the division. He plays every class equally elite. He started off sniping. We've seen him third. We've seen him heavy. He's going to put up those numbers regardless of what class, what map, what matchup. He's just been one of the best players in KTP season in and season out, going all the way back. Everyone knows it. Much like, like another version of Frank, right? Just a guy who you can put him in any match, on any gun, on any map, and you know he's going to go like at least 1.5 to 1, get 30 to 40 or more kills, sometimes 65 we've seen out of these guys in a half. And then on the rifles, so this one I think is an even bigger unknown exactly, because if you have Sokka play, right, and you maybe have Sokka, Kumkum, and 50, that's a crazy rifle tandem right there, whoever's playing whichever class. You could have Mata playing and thirding with Kumkum and 50 on the cars. That's generally been what they've done most of the season. But yeah, just again, speculating Mata, probably on the third at 0.64 and 5.3. Kumkum 0.91 and 0.9, and Travis 0.8 and 0.77. You know, again, with these guys, the stats are very deceiving. These are very good DoD players, right? You can have a couple of bad halves, and that can torpedo your stats for the season. I mean, certainly in Kumkum's case, that one half on Anju, I can assure you, is enough to torpedo that 0.9 and 0.91. It's probably, if you remove that half, he's more like a 1.1, 1.2 kind of KD ratio, right? And Travis, we all know, in the past, he's been the best fucking player in the game, 50 dropping 50s, very capable of going off with any rifle that he so chooses. It's, again, I don't know what for sure is going to be the lineup, but with over, I talk about it every week, they have numerous lineups that they can deploy that will be able to beat anybody. If SZ is playing and heavying, you can move Devin over to either rifle. If Sokka's playing and rifling, you can move Mata over to the heavy. Like, there's so much versatility within that lineup, and Till hasn't even played, right? Maybe he's back and is going to play in this matchup. I actually have no idea. All I understood was that he was generally going to be the backup for most of the season, but I think he's not in Europe anymore, so you never know. You might see James back in this lineup. You could see things totally different from what I put out here. You could see him on a rifle. You could see him on a heavy. Probably not going to snipe because you got Nick Patton, who's the best sniper in the game, right? That's pretty much the only class I would say confidently we know Nick Patton is going to, if he's there, he's sniping. Although I think he's underrated with other guns, to be honest with you. I think Nick deserves a little credit as a DoD player as a whole, not just as a sniper, because Thunder can attest to just how many times he fucking ran over us with cars, with bars, with miscellaneous other weapons besides just the sniper and his certified golden gun that he's running around with all the time. So, starting it off, Lennon. Now, both these teams just lost on Lennon, but I think they are both strong Lennon teams. I think a lot of it can just come down to, at times, activity levels, right? I think if you're looking at this playoff match, everybody's probably been playing as much DoD as they can. I think this is a pretty even matchup. Sick and Tony in apartments versus Caffrey and Devin, potentially, I'm guessing. That's a tough one, right? That is a tough matchup against Caffrey and Devin. Caffrey is one of those few elite heavies that remains in DoD to this day. He's consistently putting up good numbers every map, week in and week out. And then Devin is just a fucking god. He is a wunderkind to a T. Throw him on any class, he's going to go out there and drop bombs. So a lot to ask out of Tony getting back on his natural class, and then a ringer and William. Certainly, though, those are players who have enough understanding about that class and that route on that map to be able to come up with a way to just get. I mean, I don't expect most heavies to be able to go out against Devin and Caffrey and make them go negative, or like keep them from getting 60 total kills, right? That's not what you need to do. What you need to do is just get them out of a rhythm. Don't let them just be able to spawn, run up, do the same shit, kill 3 of you over and over again, just like clockwork. You need to get them in their heads a little bit. You need to get them thinking twice before they peek any given corner, because if you just have them running up like, oh, well, I can run into blue room and pre-fire down blue hall, and then I can peek double windows and look at tree and connector, and then I can look down the big window, and then I can go into mid, and then I can get up into spiral, just going through the checklist like that over and over again, they're going to pick you apart, right? So it's Lennon. Apartments is very, very key, for sure. When it comes to Gray Hair Mafia on long, that Pibian versus Nick Patton matchup, fuck me, man, I don't know. Who wins that? Who hits the most insane long-range pistol and no scopes? I don't know. I think in this case, with it being Lennon, the most value you get out of a sniper is oftentimes defensively, like holding on to a last flag or holding on to your own apartments area, holding on to long. But certainly both are snipers capable of finding a way to get value out of aggressive play. Very comfortable in short and mid-range battles. Very comfortable with their pistols. We've seen Nick Patton do it time and time again. Well, I'm here to tell you, Pibian's pistol is pretty goddamn close in how elite it is and how well it registers at any range. And then, of course, you'll have Corey Price versus potentially, I'm guessing, Mata over there. And Mata is a sniper, right? So that could be another little bit of an X factor, is Mata grabbing sniper rifles and finding some more value out of that sniper class wherever he chooses to take it and go with it. And Mata has a pretty big time aggressive play style. That alone can be enough to throw players off. If you got a guy just running straight at you, kind of the way that J-Rod does, it can throw people off at times when you're expecting like a little bit slower pace of play and there's a guy just fucking bunny hopping around the corner at you. Like, not everyone is ready for that in that moment. And then on Well, Sean and Jesse just been so good all season together. They have been the paragon of consistency for Gray Hair Mafia. Both guys who are capable of playing in the defensive posture in the game, but also being able to push up, grab 3, 4, and 5 kills at a time. I think they'll certainly have their work cut out for them with 50 and Kum Kum. Kum Kum especially so good on Allied side at both upper red, lower red, the boardwalk, and the blue room area, just kind of raising hell over there. Underpass too. Travis, I think that those areas also really favor his aim and his strafe mechanics. It's going to be a big time battle, I think, in Well, that'll be a little bit more back and forth. Again, it all comes down to apartments, though. Like, whoever ends up in apartments, you got to be able to lock it down. And if it's Devin and Caffrey, that's a very tough ask, right? And then on top of that, when they're on Allies, even if you get by those bars, you might have Nick Patton up there ready to no-scope, pistol, and then scope kill 3 guys, like just like that. And picking up bars and going on runs with it. And Nick is very, very good at saying, fuck long, I'm going Well. Fuck long, I'm going apartments. And coming up to your first flag and picking off 3 of you from underpass or blue room. He's as old school a sniper as it gets, and he has that old school mentality across the board. Like, he's not just sitting there going straight to his route over and over and over, no matter what. He will find a way to get impact out of every half he plays, and that's another thing that I think is favorable towards Over. This is Over's map pick. You got to take them in it, right? I just think that apartments battle, William might be the key player here for Gray Hair Mafia, really, as a ringer. He might have to have a huge game to where he's really getting Caffrey and Devin off their game. I think that that's the best chance for Gray Hair Mafia to be able to to steal the map pick of Over. Because, like I said, I think that the extremity matchups are enough back and forth that they're not going to just dominate things and cancel out losing an apartment side, right? That apartments route is just so important always on Lennon, and especially when you're relatively matched on the other sides. That I mean, a heavy team of Caffrey and Devin, I think you take them up against anybody, any heavy team in the game. So, Tony and William, if they can find a way to keep them off rhythm, keep them guessing, keep them concerned on every peak, on every corner, never able to be like, okay, I can just run straight through this area and just be ready for that. You just got to fuck with them a little bit on their cadence, fuck with them on that usual checklist that we all have when we're going through our routes where people are likely to be, what nades to throw, what to pre-fire, what to be looking at. That's Gray Hair Mafia's way back in. I fully expect Sean and Jesse to have big games. I fully expect Pibian and Corey Price to have big games, but that's not going to be enough to overtake if they can't get and hold apartments against Caffrey and Devin. If you got Devin pushed up to your last flag over and over again, good luck, because the guy loves killing 4 people at a time, and he will. He will not miss. So that I'm going over for Lennon right off the bat. However, Gray Hair Mafia on Harrington, we just saw in this season taking out a undefeated Bandits team outside of that one match, right? Now, Over does like playing Harrington too, for sure. We've played over 1 million times in scrims on Harrington and lost to them plenty on Harrington to know that they are very comfortable playing Harrington. We saw that they beat Clinic 408 to 272 this season. A little bit different version of Over, of course. Devin was sniping. I don't remember if Caffrey played even in that game. I forget. I'll have to check. I'm going to check. Bandits. There's Harrington. Over Clinic. Okay, so for Over, it was SZ and Caffrey on the heavies. Okay, Caffrey had 35 with an STG. SC had 34. Devin was sniping with 34. Kum had 35. Saka had 29. Mata had, I think that's 21. And then Allied side. Oh, wrong game. Oh, shit, I can't see the screenshot at all. I'm going to try to zoom in like that. Looks like 36 on Kum, 36 on Saka, 36 on Devin, 29 on Caffrey, 27 on SZ, 19 on Mata. So, again, Over, no fucking slouch on this map, let me tell you. Not at all to be, concerned looking at this from the standpoint of, well, they beat Bandits. Right. Well, Over's got plenty of weapons who enjoy this map, too. Of course, Harrington... Middle is an absolute shit show. Everybody's going middle 90% of the time. It feels like a steady stream of 8 people just going through mid over and over again. Grenade after grenade. Grenades right off the bat. Big key here. Who has their grenades more locked down? How consistent are you throwing your break nades? How consistent are you throwing your clear out nades when you're getting pushed up to try to go grab other flags? And your initial nades as well, because if you can grab a nice multi-kill with a nade off an initial, that right there throws everything into disarray, chaos ensues, and all of a sudden there can be a full cap 30 seconds into the game. I would favor Gray Hair Mafia here, just because of what I saw against a very, very tough Bandits team. They look like their understanding of how to win on Harrington, excellent. You see the influence from the Icy Hot side of things on Jesse. Icy Hot, a great Harrington team. Jesse, a great Harrington player. Sean, a great Harrington player. Pibian, great Harrington player. Now, Corey Price in this lineup as well. Corey Price potentially going long. We've seen so many times the kind of damage Corey Price can put up going long, getting up to sandbag, getting up to plateau, all this stuff. And then on the heavy side, William, again, Icy Hot, success and mentality, being able to slot in with these guys missing their 2 heavies in Rib and ProStar. And then Tony, a guy who I've heavied against on Harrington. He's very capable. Even if he doesn't go off and get 60 kills, if he's able to pull off 2, 3, 4 kills at a time at the right times, which he is able to do, that right there is enough to swing the balance in the direction of Gray Hair Mafia. Now, things a little bit different here, right? It's not Bandits, but you got Nick Patton to deal with in mid, of course. And then potentially potentially Saka, potentially 50, like all these guys that are very tough players. And then Caffrey as well. So much frag power on the overside, and guys who it's not like they are just good at this spot on this map. Like Caffrey, if he's sitting in Mountain Pit, is going to get kills. No, Caffrey will go get 3 kills in mid. Caffrey will go get 3 kills at Sandbag. Devin will go get 3 kills at Double Doors. Devin will go get 3 kills at Upper Plateau. Saka will kill 4 of you from ladder. Kum will kill 3 of you at your spawn. Like, it's just endless stream of frags, and for over, I mean, outside of what I mentioned being the kind of keys with grenades and rotations and finishing off cap outs from earlier in the Thunder game, like these are all very obvious things that make the difference. But if over is sharp with their aim, they have so much raw talent on that lineup. Like that can end it for you right there on a map like Harrington, right? If you got Nick and Devin and Caffrey and Kum and Travis and Mata, and they're all hitting their shots with regularity, not much else is going to matter, right? Like, you can throw all the good nades you want, but still, those nades are only going to account for like 20 to 30% of the kills. There's a lot of aim duels to be had. Pib is going to have himself a strong game in mid because Nick Patton will. Nick will have impact both halves in this game. You got to try to keep him uncomfortable in mid-house on Allied side especially, because he will make life a living hell for both your mid team and your mountain team, and he will do it with a smile on his face, because that's what Slick Nick does. I suspect Pibian will be fine, right? Again, this is a fun sniper matchup between these two guys. I think it will be enough like slugfest back and forth that not one of them will just dominate the other one. But every time that in that head-to-head, whoever gets the kill, that alone tips the scales for that, 10 to 15 seconds waiting for the reinforcements, because good snipers like that, it's not always about the head-to-head matchup, but keeping the opposing sniper from picking off your teammates is kind of like the point of a sniper, right? Like, if you're sniping on a map where the two snipers are able to see each other, if you're just ignoring the opposing sniper and he kills 2 of your teammates, you're not doing your fucking job. And both these guys understand that. They're not going to just be like, well, Nick just killed 3 of us in mid, so I'm going to sit over here and like try to get 1 kill in the back. They're going to be going after each other. I think that will make for a very, very fun battle in mid. But you're going to see, too, whole lot of other frag power coming from Grey Hair Mafia on that side. Sean and Jesse, I assume, will both be in mid a lot of the time. And then Corey coming up the rear on long, finding times to flank. I think, again, in this case, ladder control is going to be a bit of a variable. You can't let Caffrey and Devin or Caffrey and SC, whoever the other heavy ends up being for over here. You could even see Devin Carbar on this map, I think. Really, you could see Devin Carbar on any map. I think on Lennon, if he's going to heavy one half, he might as well heavy the other half, but that is certainly an option. You got to have good control over ladder. You got to be at least not letting them just run the ladder freely over and over again. Obviously on their axis side, ladder's closer, but these are all good, experienced players. They know how to nade ladder. They know how to hold angles where you think you can get across the ladder uncontested until you then get hit by a bullet in the face. But that ladder mountain trip box area is going to be very, very important for both teams here. If you see like a William as the triple box heavy, which I can tell you he's very good at, we played against Chilled, and I had a rifle mountain on Axis, which I've never done before, and William did not make it any easier on me. I think the only times I killed him was me hitting really fucked up, like shooting him through the wall shots. Like I just had to pre-fire him through walls, because if I peeked him, I died. He's very, very good at taking favorable angles on that route to where you think you've cleared something out and he is on a next off angle and then you're dead. Like you can't get too much in the routine of like, if a guy pushed here, he's going to hold this. No. William, we've seen it multiple times in my cast too. When he's heavying, he plays heavy like a rifle. So it's not quite as predictable for like a natural heavy going up against William with the way that he plays with the gun. They're going to have to keep that in mind on the overside for sure. But yeah, I think that overall, I got to go with Grey Hair Mafia here. I think this one is going to be ridiculously close. Like, I think this might come down to both teams doing a good job defending a lot, and then who's able to actually break through for a full cap. We saw it out of Gray Hair Mafia against Bandits. They were able to finish off a couple caps, which is more than Thunder can certainly say 99% of the time on Harrington. I think this will be a game of who can defend in a complete way the most on their Axis side, because they're both very, very good on the aggressive side of their allied half and not just all dying at once and giving up a reverse cap all of a sudden. I think it'll be a lot of back and forth, a lot of kills. I think both teams will end up over like 160 kills. But I think going to a map 3, right? I want to see a map 3, so I'm picking as if that's going to happen. And for map 3, we've got Anzio. Now, this one, we've got some added info to work with, right? 518 to 378 over beat Gray Hair Mafia. Now, let me take a look at the actual screenshots to tell you just how much that's going to matter lineup-wise. There's Anzio. All right, there it is. So, already right off the bat, it's a little bit fucky, right? So for Gray Hair Mafia, it's closer, I think, in regards to like what their actual lineup was versus what it's going to be today. Mafia, it was Riv, Nine, Corey, Prostar, Kanga, Pibian. So we know Prostar and Riv aren't going to be there. Take out either one of those guys. Put in Sean, who wasn't there that week. Boom, right there, all good to go. And then you take out the other one. You put in Sick. Sick, we know, heavying on this map, how much of a difference maker he can be. We saw it out of Chilled against Clinic. The guy was just everywhere. He was impossible to keep track of. So they won their allied side by 20, and then Over won their allied side by 160. Now, here's the thing. Over's lineup is even more out there. They have Chi on a bar, they have King Yo on a rifle, and they have Scotty on a rifle. So 3 ringers here. Caffrey on a bar, 37 kills. Devin was sniping as well, so there's that too. Devin sniping for 27. 19 kills for Kumkum on the Garand, and on the Axis side, Devin sniping 26. Kumkum with 28 on the car, and Caffrey with 30 on the STG. Caffrey, excellent at this map, as most good natural heavies are. When you've played it enough over the years, you kind of start to get a feel for what you can do to be successful on it. Caffrey is no different. When it comes down to getting the lineups back to what they're going to be for this actual match, right? I think it's really tough to extrapolate the lineup that Overplayed with versus what their lineup potentially would be for this game. They're certainly not going to have 3 ringers. I assume they're not going to have any ringers. They have like a 9-man roster. I'm sure it'll be 6 Over players. Travis, great Anzio player, though. Right off the bat, you're bringing in Travis there. Boom. Nick Patton, I can tell you, big difference maker on Anzio. Both halves, getting into Church Tower and in Plaza and in Ladder Window, and not just holding on to Plaza, but his timing on pushing up main ramp, getting into Sundial, getting into Street, pushing out. Very, very valuable, very dangerous on that allied side. And then on Axis, Meat Locker, Tiki, Crack, Short. He's been doing sniping bridge for fucking 22 years. The guy's a god. Pibian, gonna have his hands full. Here's the thing, on Anzio, you're not exactly head-to-head sniping, really, right? You're usually on 2 opposite ends of the map, so you can kind of have independent impact of the other sniper. So, like, it might not really matter if Nick is going off. That doesn't mean that Pibian is not also doing the same thing on each half, and Pibian's strengths that he brings to the game as a sniper are very similar to Nick's strengths as well. There's just an experience disparity there, but Pibian still finds a way to get that same impact. When it comes to the heavy battle. Now, here's the thing, right? If it's Caffrey and Devin, Caffrey and SC, whatever, Tony, I've seen many times have his strongest games on Anzio, and as we alluded to earlier, William on Anzio, heavying this season, really played the game very differently than you see a lot of heavies, or most, if not all heavies, play on that map in particular. He was just everywhere. All over the place. You never knew where he was going to pop up. If you thought you had an idea of where he was at, he wasn't there. He's going through Ivy. He's going through sewers. He's getting up to Tower through the sewers. He's going out to Bridge through Z. He's out at your 1 through Pizza. He's going through Ivy and not shooting any of you until you've got 3 guys there. Just, you got to really, if you're Over, be thinking at all times, how long has it been since you've seen Sick? because if you don't, he will make you pay for it. Like, if you go back and watch the cast that I did of Chilled versus Clinic, Sick and Chi were, I mean, unstoppable on this map. It just didn't matter. Like, anywhere that they wanted to go, they were getting multiple kills, and they were making Clinic feel like they couldn't get anything done. You could kill 4 guys, and if Chi and Sick were the last 2 alive, you're not gaining any map control off of it, because they're both in good positional situations to be able to hold on to whatever Chilled had. Sick, obviously not with his heavy partner here in Chi, but 9 is a guy who can fill in that Chi role very, very well, and I think can play off of what Sick is going to do on Anzio in a way that'll be conducive to success here for Gray Hair Mafia. When it comes to the rifle side of things, I'm not so sure who's going to do what. I mean, certainly you could have a sniper on Axis Go Plaza if you're Gray Hair Mafia. I don't think they will. Will it be Sean? Sean has carved both routes over his career. Very capable of doing it. Jesse, a guy who's played every class, so obviously going to be comfortable either route. And then Corey, same thing. I've seen him do both. I don't know what I would do here if I'm Gray Hair Mafia when it comes to who's going where. I'd probably put Sean in double windows to start, right? See if he can get a good beat on Nick Patton there, because that's the biggest thing that comes into play as a car going double windows, dealing with the sniper, because your STGs aren't going to win that battle very often. You got to be able to keep Nick out of that tower, out of the ladder window, out of the plaza cap area, and just kind of relegate him to being stuck behind the plaza cap, in pizza, in the laundry, in grass, in fruit. Sean's strafe and his pre-firing and just his general knowledge of angles and tendencies, I think, is probably the best bet going Plaza there. But I think that, Jesse is very capable of doing the same thing. And I think that Jesse's methodical play style and, like, really understanding how to clear out a route and not just, like, get caught, like, well, I killed 2 or 3 guys, I can push now. Like, he understands, again, the tendencies of his opponents, what he's thinking about the game from, like, the aspect of what would I do here? Is there going to be a 4th guy? Either guy I think can be stronger. I think I would just start with Sean, see if you can get that added, like, Sean just sitting there walling Nick Patton through the corner over and over again, like I try to do. I think the way that he plays with the car might be a little more conducive to the double windows in particular. I don't know if that tracks throughout the whole plaza route, but those double windows versus the sniper in pizza and in tower, it's kind of like the most important part of that route as a car. And then I think if you have Pibian, Jesse, and Corey on bridge, that's a really strong bridge team to go up against the potential like 50 Kum Kum and Mata, or Saka Kum Kum and Mata, or Saka 50 and Kum Kum, whatever it might be. Generally you favor the Axis side on bridge most of the time, and you really want to make sure you can do that, because if you can't, Plaza is probably not going too well on Axis side either, right? Like, I don't know. It's one of those things. This is a game of percentages when I'm talking about this. So obviously it could go either direction, but just usually Axis side generally going to hold bridge more, and on Allied side you're generally going to hold Plaza more. So you want to kind of try to, at a base, make sure that that's what's happening, and then from there try to bring it out to the point where, okay, we've got bridge. Now we have guys who are going to be good at pushing through Z, getting into spawn house, dealing with drawing the attention of those Plaza players, enough for the Plaza players on their team to be able to then take advantage of it, make it 2-on-1, 3-on-1 with that player, isolate them, the last guy that's left over there, whether it's Nick or a bar, and be able to then turn that into a potential scenario for a full cap. But as always, when there's something right in the middle of the map, street. Anzio Street is a major point of contention, I think, in the present day game. Everyone seems to know how important it is. Not everyone seems to understand the proper way to go about playing with street. You certainly want a dedicated street player on Axis especially, but what you got to remember is that street is not just a hallway with a flag that leads out to Plaza and out to bridge. There is also a whole fucking sewer system. And that sewer system also leads out to both sides, but from a different angle, right? If players utilize that sewer system to their advantage, and I can tell you PDX is one of the best at this, you can use that sewer system to really fuck with the other team. Now, you don't want to just do it willy-nilly, like we're down to our last flag and I'm holding street. I better run through sewers to a flag I can't cap. No, you got to pick and choose your spots, but a well-timed push through the sewers to either side of the map by a heavy, that's an extra number there that you're not expecting going through your clear checklist, right? You don't know that there's going to be a fourth guy sitting there in sewers coming up to flank you when you're capping bridge. You don't know that there's going to be an extra guy up in church tower when you've already cleared out main ramp and double windows and street. So many potential scenarios where you can use that sewer system to your advantage as a heavy, really as any class. Like if you find yourself in street, don't feel like you have to run back out meat locker, that you have to go out main ramp, or you have to crawl through that death trap of Ivy and potentially just get shot in the face before he ever saw anyone. The sewers is very important. Sick understands that for sure. Caffrey, Devin, they understand that for sure. SC, very long time player and heavy, understands that for sure. I think in this case, it might just come down to timing, right? If when those players choose to utilize all the tools that are at their disposal in that middle area, fanning out for the rest of the map, that could be where the difference gets made here. A lot of the aim battle, head-to-head, route versus route battles, I think are enough of a coin flip, like you'd favor a team 51 to 49 or whatever. Again, I think a lot of it will come down to because, hey, you can have control of the rest of the map, and then you could lose street, and then what's happening? That guy's flanking around behind you. Now you got to deal with that. Oh, shit, I turned around to look at the guy on main ramp, and I got shot from pizza. Oh, no, now we're down plaza. We've lost the double cap, and look at that. They went through street, and they flanked our sniper bridge in a 3-on-1 situation, and we were all going over to plaza to try to break it. Now we've lost bridge, too. Like, things, because of street, can get completely out of hand in an instant. I've seen it happen to us millions of times before. I've seen it happen in cast so many times. Every close Anzio game that I've ever seen, street was the most important part of it. Teams flooding through street to fan out and cap out. Teams flooding through street when they were the ones defending to begin with. Going from like you're down to your last flag, you kill a little bit of a wave, you cap the plaza. Don't just run up main ramp. Like you're going to run into nades and a sniper and shit up there. No. Go through crawl space, get into street, get a guy up main ramp, but don't all go up there. Take it from two angles, because if there's a sniper in meat, he can't kill both of you, right? You have the opportunity for a trade frag there, which is a very big part of CS, but I feel like in DoD, people don't think about it in those terms as much since we respawn in 10 seconds at most. But a lot of these situations, 10 seconds can be an eternity. If you can trade frag one guy for one guy for one guy for one guy, all of a sudden, you're capping out, right? And in those choke points where you don't see a lot of multi-frags, the key is being there to trade with a teammate. Don't make it one-on-one and then give up like potentially, 10% of that route worth of map control just because you didn't wait the extra second for your teammate to be there to trade the frag before the sniper had a chance to rescope. It's going to be the little things like that I think will make the difference here. I mean, you got to go with over, right? Historically, they won the matchup while they had ringers, like quite a few. But I think that the makeup of the rosters and everything, like with Grey Hair Mafia having Sean for this, Corey in there again, who's always historically been a great Anzio player, Tony on the heavies, who I've seen a million times have great games on both halves of Anzio, and then Sick in particular, if he is heavying, the impact that we've seen him have on Anzio this season in Chill's match, I think really is very helpful for Grey Hair Mafia's chances. For over, I mean, I don't know for sure what their roster is, but anything looking like this is a sick fucking roster, I'm going to go with over. I'm going to say by like fucking 27 points. Like, I think over will get the full cap they need with a little bit of time to spare. Grey Hair Mafia will threaten to pull off another Insomnia versus 3H comeback, but come up a little bit short. I think you got to take over to be able to take that Anzio game, if necessary, of course, right? We might not even get to the third map. But yeah, that is what I'm thinking. Like, if I had to pick, the impact player, like if this team wins, who is their MVP of the series for each team here? For Clinic, I'm going to go with Insom. Again, I'm not saying like this is the best player, this is the most important player. I'm just thinking like win conditions for a team, who's likely to be the guy who's getting like 70 kills there and they are in places where they really, really desperately need them. I'm thinking Insom or Vic, right, for Clinic. For Thunder, I'm thinking Tox or Jules. For over, I'm thinking probably Caffrey or Devin, right? Like a lot of these maps are coming down to those heavy areas. And then for Gray Hair Mafia, I'm thinking Sean or Jesse realistically, but I think Sick is the dark horse there. I mean, you might have a ringer come out here and carry a team to a best of 3 win because of the maps that there are in this best of 3 in particular. I think having William not just be the ringer, but also heavying in particular could bode well for Gray Hair Mafia. And if it does bode well, I think it leads to them getting a W. Yeah, that's my pick there for who the big potential MVPs are for each game if that team is to win their series. But yeah, I mean, that does it. The winner of the Over versus Gray Hair Mafia game, I believe, plays Bandits. The winner of the Thunder Clinic game, I believe, plays Chilled in the semifinals next week, which I will once again do. I'll do a separate playoff. Actually, I don't know. I guess we'll see because Silver goes into the playoffs after this week. So we'll see how the next Dodcast is going, like time-wise and all the matchups and everything. If I know all the map choices before I do the Dodcast, all those different factors. Like maybe I will end up doing like 3 smaller Dodcasts next week where one of them is the recap of Silver, one of them is Silver Playoff 1 predictions, and one of them is Gold recap and playoff semi predictions, something like that. We'll have to see just how much information is known by the time I'm actually going to record at that point. But tonight, we've got Thunder versus Clinic. Blender is casting that. Tomorrow, Over versus Gray Hair Mafia best of 3. I will be casting that for sure at 4 p.m. Eastern. And then let me see what other games we've got going on here to know what I might be able to cast. Everything else is at 9. So I won't be able to do Loswick versus Saab. I'm guessing Blender will be able to do that. I'll do Spicy versus 3H for sure. Shit, I better put that in the Shoutcasters den. Oh, nope, never mind. Blender, it cannot cast anything on Sunday. Spicy versus Saab at 9 p.m. Eastern, and the Over versus Gray Hair Mafia playoff series at 4 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Let me just double check that there wasn't anything I missed. It doesn't look like it. Okay, yeah, so tonight, 8:30 Eastern, the Blenders got Thunder versus Clinic, best of 3. Tomorrow, I've got Over versus Gray Hair Mafia, and I've got 3H versus Spicy, which is a very, very big game in that Silver division. There is another big game going on too in Nogo and Goose because Nogo can potentially move up. But, you know, I mean, Goose has been damn near unbeatable. I mean, they have been unbeatable. Not even near. They are unbeatable. They're fucking undefeated, right? So I'm going to go with that Spicy versus 3H game. And yeah, that's the schedule for the rest of this weekend. Good luck, everybody. It's the last week of the regular season for Silver. Playoff round 1 in Gold. I think it's just going to be a fun week for everyone. And yeah, good luck to Clinic tonight. Always a fun series when we get to play against each other, even if it's CS, right? Although I didn't get to play in that game, unfortunately, which is still, I'm very hurt by that. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't trying to play that night. All right, so I will see everybody tonight on the battlefield. Don't forget to go watch Blender stream. It's Saturday. What the fuck else are you going to do? Watch WrestleMania? That's what I'll be doing during that game. Oh, the Boogie movie. I forgot to plug the Boogie movie as well. So first of all, I will put that in the description too. I got so sidetracked because you know, I mean, we didn't get in till whatever time yesterday, so I wasn't really thinking far enough ahead. I just was thinking about doing the gold playoff predictions. But the Boogie project, that video has come out officially. Let me open it up just to get you guys able to see it here. Where are we? There. And where'd it go? I just saw it. There we go, right there. All right. Come on with these ads. What the fuck? There we go. All right. So as we can see here, window, 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 boom, boom, and boom. There it is. Oh, my big ass fucking head's right in the way now. Son of a bitch. Let me move that for you guys. So here it is. As you can see, a 23-year-old still kicking, competitive scene, the OG World War II FPS. Get in there and watch this. Don't forget to like, hit subscribe, comment, everything. Get it up in that YouTube algo. I'm sure Timo can tell you to do the same too. He knows better how the algorithm works than I do. That's the most that I know about it is like, gotta like, subscribe, comment, and that level of interaction will help. Every little bit helps when it comes to YouTube and the algorithm. But yeah, so don't forget to go do that. I'm sure this has been posted in other places, but I will also include it in the description for this video as well. And yeah, don't forget to submit to the Frag of the Week for War Within, too. I don't know what the deal is, if it's going to be like just silver, and then the playoffs will be something else for gold, or the playoffs for everybody, or if everybody's just going to submit to this week for this week, and then the same thing next week, etc. That's up to War. He can figure that out. I know what it's like having to deal with workload management when it comes to Frag of the Weeks, and I'm not going to be the one to give him any ideas on potentially fucking with his vibe that he's got going on to finish these things week in and week out right now. But good luck, have fun, Clinic tonight. Go watch Blender. Go watch Boogie's video. I want to see that thing get up to 1,000 views by the end of this weekend at least. Come on, guys. I mean, we got plenty of people in the community here. Give it to your friends. Give it to your relatives. Get this thing kicking up. DOD is supposed to be for life. For life. Huh? Yeah, give it to your mom and stuff. I'm giving it to my mom. God damn, I'm giving it to my dad too. SASDDT. BAW Pepe Le Pew. He's going to be watching it. All right, everybody go eat dinner. Get back here in 3 hours for a best of 3 series tonight. Love you guys. Peace out. KTP. Oh yeah. WrestleMania.